Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I work with a number of consignment shops for marketing my art, and one thing that bugs me a lot is that I understand these places need to make a profit, but the consignment fee is always a percentage of whatever you sell, right? And that's a big problem for the kind of art that I like to make. So, for example, this big Ganesh here weighs about 6 pounds, and the bismuth in it is worth 35, 40, $45 or so, depending on the market of the day. And depending on where I consign it, if they take a 50% cut, right? I gotta sell it. I gotta ask for at least 150, $200 to make it even worthwhile. Meanwhile, at the same gallery, you might have something the same size that has material that's worth 10, $15, or maybe even less, and it's selling for 50, 60, $70. Now, the real estate of where this Ganesh ends up on the store shelf is worth just as much, whether it's this thing on there or some other material, right? Some wood or some canvas doesn't change the value of the real estate. So why the difference in the consignment fee? It just does not make a whole lot of sense. Now, granted, sometimes I do get to haggle a little bit, but some of these stores are impossible to haggle just based on the structure of the store. If it's a small mom and pop shop, I'll haggle. But even some of these people uh, don't have the good sense of the kind of logic that I just mentioned, right? It's very, very hard to get this across, right? It kind of reminds me of years ago when we were locked down and we were ordering food online and the whole tipping culture. So people expect a certain percentage as their tip, regardless of what you order, right? So, for example, you order, especially somebody like me, I have food allergies. You order very specialty food, it comes in the same bag, but it might be $50 instead of 20, right? Your neighbor just down the hall in the same apartment building orders something that's $20. It's the same size, and you're expected to tip the same work, the same location, the same size of bag, right? The same driver, but you're expected to tip more. Why? Why? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I even because I teach at a community college, I was teaching about percentages one day, and one of my students is actually an Uber Eats driver, and I straight up asked him, "You got two deliveries. You're delivering a case of soda to one home, and just next door to him, on the same route, even, right? You're delivering a case of expensive wine. The soda might be $10, the wine is $300, and they both give you a $5 tip, let's say. How would you feel about this?" And he said he would be annoyed at the wine order. Even it's the same job, the same home. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? He straight up admitted to me that. And but he came up with a beautiful solution. He said maybe if they're gonna seal the bag and so you can't see what's inside, maybe not even show what's being delivered, right? Be an anonymous delivery. That might be a good idea, right? After all, you don't want somebody tampering with your food anyway, right? So you want to seal it up and maybe not even show how much the food was worth. And I don't know if Uber Eats drivers could see what was being ordered, how much it was, or all that. Related to that is the whole concept of this. Right now, as I speak, there's a lot of anxiety about workplace pay and conditions. Now, when somebody says they make X dollars an hour, I always wonder why jobs pay by the hour. Let me give you an example of why I was upset about being paid by a certain hour. I was working at a tutoring center, and I had very specialty skills, right? And oftentimes I would get very broken shifts, and but still I would make whatever X dollars per hour, right? Even though the shifts might be all over the place, even though a lot of times because I was the only employee there who was single, a lot of my colleagues wanted to take care of family life, and during the holiday season I would get all these broken shifts, right? and yet I was still making X dollars. Now, granted, this is the kind of thing we would negotiate when we were doing our yearly bonus, but I'd rather it be part of the negotiation per the job, right? Why is it X dollars per hour? It's a very lazy computation that doesn't take into account the logistics of all the work, and it treats every hour like it's an equal, right? Just like the percentages, right? It's a lazy approximation that can, depending on what you're doing, if it's off the charts, right? It could be very inapproximate, and you're losing out on business, right? The consignment shop that was very inflexible, they lose out, I lose out, right? It's not like somebody benefits from all this, right? I just go somewhere else to consign. It's kind of like, imagine if everybody had to pay the same rates for car insurance, right? Everybody would pay a huge rate because somebody drives carelessly. You get the idea. It kind of feels like that, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.